Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm Judge Executive David Vogel. Happy to have you here today on the 17th day of July. If you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Leslie.
Here.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Now I'm going to ask Ms. Fair to please read the minutes from our last meeting.
June 29th, 2018. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a special meeting at 1 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, Assistant County Attorney Tate Combs, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Steve Greenwell, Kevin Eldridge, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Magistrate Hounds and Leslie were absent. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve the agenda. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve the meeting minutes of June 19th. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment, none. County Attorney John Carter arrived at the meeting at 1:14 p.m. County Administration, Budget and Fund Transfers. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the budget transfers for 2017-18. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the fund transfers for 2017-18 budget. Motion carried unanimously. Payables. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Dye to approve the payables. Motion carried unanimously. Contract agreements and resolutions. Resolution and agreement with KYTC, Settlers Point Trail Bridge. Motion made by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the resolution and agreement with KYTC relating to replacing bridge and approaches on Settlers Point Trail as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Executive session. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Dye to enter into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810F personnel for discussion which might lead to the appointment of employment of one or more employees. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Eldridge and seconded by Magistrate Dye to end the closed session and reconvene the regular meeting. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions. Police employment contract. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to approve the employee contract with Greg Smith relating to professional services for the position of Chief of Police in Oldham County. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment, none. Announcements. Magistrate Logsdon wished everyone happy 4th of July. Lanes in Crestwood are finally complete. Magistrate Eldridge stated, now that summer is here, motorists should be extra mindful of increased number of people taking advantage of the outdoors, such as pedestrians, cyclists, children playing, mowing. Magistrate Greenwell asked everyone to be respectful of neighbors when setting off fireworks on July 4th. For example, only set off approved fireworks during the designated time period. Magistrates Tice and Likens reminded the community of the county's 4th of July celebration at Wendellmore Park, activities, food, and music during the day, and fireworks commencing at dusk around 10 p.m. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Dye to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously, and the meeting adjourned at 2:45 p.m.
You've heard the reading of our last minutes. Is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Are there any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Abstain.
Abstentions? All right. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here today who would like to address the fiscal court? You'll have up to 4 minutes, okay? Please state your name and address.
My name is Bill Holscher. I'm the Chief Deputy County Clerk, and I'm here today on behalf of the County Clerk's Office. We are having our tax sale on July 26th, which is a week from Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning. People who have not yet paid their taxes have until 8:45 in the morning on the day of the tax sale to so do. They bring certified funds, cash, or credit card. Or if they're unable to get the payment worked into their budget, they can call the county attorney at 222-7342 and he will develop a payment plan for them. We have 319 bills with a value of about $465,000, which we will have available for sale. We have 17 people already registered to participate in the sale. Registrations were closed yesterday, so those 17 people are all there is. We advertise the unpaid bills on June the 21st in the Oldham area in accordance with the law. That is all.
All right, thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the fiscal court? Seeing no one, I'm going to close this part of the meeting and go on to the 2017 Sheriff's Property Tax Settlement. Lori is here from the Sheriff's Office, and
Yes.
go ahead.
And just like Bill said, I'm here to give you the overall figures and final taxes that were collected for 2017. At the end of April, we had collected 99% of the tax bills. We turned over, I think, around 402 to the county clerk's office. Like I said, it was overall a really good collecting year again. And like I said, I know that they have collected a large portion of the taxes themselves before they get turned over now to the tax sale. So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask about any of the, and like I said, the first report is based on all the districts, everything that's attached, because I know it's a lot for you all to absorb. Every single report is based on every district and what it's broken down and what we collected from them and what the discounts, the commissions, franchise bills, tangible bills, additional bills. So if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask.
Although numbers are hard to understand.
Yes, they are.
Just spoken, I'd like to let the community know that there were just about $75 million in property taxes collected in Oldham County
Yes.
last year. 74.9. Of that amount of money, we have about 2.9 that is hanging out in not yet to be collected through the delinquency lien program that was just mentioned and other situations. The sheriff gets some of that $74.9 million to operate his department. We do. So about $71 to $72 million is what was paid out by the citizens of the community that goes for property taxes. And the sheriff received about close to just a little over, I guess, $2 million. Is that right? Am I
It was
reading the
about,
right line there?
I think we, about $1,600,000.
$1,600,000.
And then we collected that in the commission.
Okay.
Because out of that 2 million is the discount, like I said, people pay before November the 2nd. And like I said, that ended up being $1,312,000. So that comes away from the money that we took in. And then the commission, which you see is what we get from the districts, and at the bottom, it'll show you what we get from the school. And that's where we bring our money in and turn it over, which came to about $17,000, $1,700,000.
Right, that's money turned over to the fiscal court.
Yes.
And then we reallocate that out as part of the sheriff's budget
Yes.
to help operate that department.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'll accept a motion and allow me to sign this summary of the taxing districts.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank
Laurie.
you.
Next item here today has to do with the Ballersville Fire Protection District. Chief Fonte is here to give the community an update on how Ballersville is doing.
Thank you, Judge. We present our tax rate in our budget every year. So this year, as in the past, the Ballersville Fire Protection District set a tax rate of 10 cents per $100 valuation on real property, personal property, and motor vehicles and watercraft. Our budget we actually increased $2,500. Our apparatus that we have, our newest piece is a 2005, so we're maintaining that equipment we have. It's costing a little bit more, and then obviously the repairs go up a little bit. So, and then the big expenditure is obviously the radios. The county, I think the county as a whole went $5.5 million. So our part of that was about $190,000. So we'll be paying that this year also. Our total, our income is roughly, we just got the letter, the certified, the PVA just certified our income, so I don't have the exact numbers. It's roughly 680,000 we bring in, so our total income, or our total budget number this year was 868,225. So obviously we're run a tight budget, but the radios kind of put us over, so, but we have money been saving for years from CDs and whatnot. Is there any questions? I don't want to feel like I'm going kind of fast.
You have some debt.
Yes, sir.
I think, how much debt do you have?
Our Station 2, all of our equipment's paid for. The only thing we have debt on is our Station 2. That building was, I think we took a loan for $1.7 million, and it should be paid off in 10 years. That annual payment is about $140,000. Obviously, every year it goes down a little bit, but not very substantial amount, so that's part of that also.
I know a number of agencies, including, our own fiscal court. We watch very carefully what we pay in loan interest. Do you know what your loan interest rates are?
I don't know the exact rate. I know on that, I can tell you what our interest payment is. I think it was like 3%. It's very low. $35,000 in the interest a year, and then $105,000 on the principal payment.
Principal, right. Well, if in the future you ever wanted to review where you were, if market conditions changed or whatever, you're very free to contact our Chief Financial Officer, Stan Clark, or our County Treasurer, Melissa Horn. Both of them are up to date on the sharpest rates that are out there that we know of, at least.
Yeah.
So,
And I've got some things on the district if that's good to go through. Just so everyone knows, we're running 2 stations. Obviously, the older station has been there for years. Our new station is about 3 years old. We have 4 engines, 2 tankers, 2 field trucks. We have 15 EMTs and 2 paramedics on the department. Our current ISO rating, which is what affects our insurance, is a Class 4, and that's throughout our whole entire district. We don't have any 10. You have to live within 5 miles. And our portion of Shelby County, they have a fire department that's actually kind of technically in our fire district. It meets that with our mutual aid, and then our new station met the 5-mile requirement throughout our whole entire district. Our email or our website is www.balladgevillefire.com. As far as personnel, we have a full-time chief, myself, and then 4 members we have staffed at the fire station Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and then on Saturday that's filled with volunteers. On average, the volunteers train roughly 100 hours a year. Hit and miss, they do state fire schools and Jefferson County fire schools, so there's a lot of that. On average, we have about 400 runs a year, and right now we're about 45% of those are EMS assist. We do first responder runs. I think most departments in the county do that. We staff the Oldham County Hazmat Trailer, the task force team. That's funded through the fire departments and emergency management. And that is hazmat, technical rescue, and search and rescue, which again is all funded through fire. Most of our monies from that to replace our equipment is through grants. We get good grants, but we have 17 part-time members, and of those 17, 11 live in our fire district and make off-duty runs, so they're technically paid on call. And then we have 30 volunteers. As far as certification, the firefighter that's paid and the firefighter that is a volunteer is the exact same in the state of Kentucky. So whether you say paid professional, I say volunteer professional, we're doing the same job. And we have the exact same qualifications, the same trainings, the same instructors. Again, training is the key. You are what you put in your staff and your members. Every year the county hosts a recruit class. I think we have about 15 members that are going through recruit class. Once they're through the recruit class, they'll be 150-hour certified, which is what the state requires. And as far as volunteers also, the Oldham County Fair all the fair events are staffed by volunteers, fire service. And then Oldham County Day is pretty much, as far as fire service goes, is volunteers with that. And everything we do, like I said, is with an income of, as far as Balladgeville, $670,000 to $680,000. So I wish we could lower our tax rate, but the income's just not there right now.
Right. You mentioned recruits. It sounds like you're having success in getting additional people.
It's hard. Everyone is busy. Today's world is all families. Everyone works that can, and kids are playing 3 or 4 different sports apiece, and we're running here and there. So it's hard to keep and recruit people. But like I said, the county puts on a great recruit class through the Fire Instructors Association. Like I said, I think almost every department in the county has members in it, 3 or 4 each. And when they come out, they're certified. You have to have so many hours to be certified through the state to be insured. So yeah, we've done very well in the past couple of years on getting new volunteers.
All right. Well, I think Valersville's doing a great job, and appreciate what you're doing. And I know you're Magistrate Greenwell's district, and I'm sure that he feels pretty proud of you guys.
Judge, I am very proud of them. I have 2 fire districts in my magisterial district, Ballersville and LaGrange, as far as the firehouses. But I wanted to commend Ballersville and all of the fire departments in the county for being able to take this new radio system that we have and take it in stride. And I know it's been very expensive on everybody's part, including our own and their own. And yet they've been able to handle it, and I'm sure all the other fire departments have too, the ones that I know of have. So anyway, that was kind of a curveball thrown, but they took care of it. So.
And I think we all agree it was needed.
Yes.
We've had a problem, and it should be fixed now. So it's definitely a bonus for the county.
Magistrate Hounds.
Most everybody would probably that reads in Oldham area, we had a significant run for the county anyway in Westport 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. Cool thing about it was every fire district in Oldham County was there. When you've got to pull Pee Wee Valley from Westport, we had to get a map to figure out how to get over there, but we made it. But it really shows the unity of the fire service as a whole, and Chief, because you're here first, I'll make the statement. It was really nice that everybody came together to do a common job and to get the job done. And as hot as it was, that's why Pee Wee Valley was all the way in Westport, because had people ask, why did you go all the way over there? And we said, well, it was hot, and you can only work so far or so much before you get too hot, especially when it was 90 whatever degrees that day.
All right, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your being here. The next item on our agenda is to do with another fire department presentation, and we're happy to welcome Chief Eddie Turner. And I believe your Chief Turner may be the senior chief in the district or close to it, right?
It's been a long time.
That's a long time. Yeah.
I'd like to say good afternoon to Judge Vogel, member of the Fiscal Court. I come here today to give a yearly budget presentation to the court for South Oldham Fire Protection District. During the 2017-18 fiscal court year just ended, we received over right at $1.7 million from tax revenue. This year we're keeping the tax rate at 9 cents for property and 10 cents for vehicles, which we're going to estimate revenue of 1.756. This money, as you know, will be turned over to South Oldham Fire Department, Inc. This is to operate the fire department, salaries, pension, truck maintenance, building maintenance, and all that stuff goes with it. And like I said, we're going to keep the tax rate at 9 and 10 cents. We're averaging right at 900 runs a year, a little bit more. Last year we had 905 runs. 348 of them was EMS assist. We have 11 EMTs, 1 first responder. I run a 4-man crew 24/7, and then Monday through Friday there's 3 administrative people there, including myself. We have 28 volunteers. Last year's training records, we have total training classes offered to the members were 2,272 for a total training hours of 5,530. Our ISO is 3/3X. We do have a website, www.southonfire.com. Our minutes are not posted on the website, but if anybody requests minutes, copies minute, they can call the firehouse Monday through Friday for your board, and we'll get them to you. In closing, I just want to thank you, Judge Vogel, and the magistrates of Oldham County Fiscal Court for the support you all give all the public safeties agencies in the counties. So with that, any questions, I'll be willing to answer.
Major Greenwell.
Thank you. Chief Turner, on the property classifications, you said that there was 3 and 3X?
Yeah.
What's the difference? 3
is for your residence within 5 miles of the firehouse and the fire hydrant. 3X is with over 5 miles and no fire hydrant
Okay.
tankers.
All right, Magistrate Logson.
Chief, I just want to thank you and all the people who work here in South Oldham. Y'all do a fine job. You're there whenever we need you, and I just really appreciate y'all being there for us.
Well, like I say, we couldn't do it without y'all's support up here, and y'all give us the energy to go on and do it. So, but the support y'all have given us, like been talking about the radio system, which is going to be a big help. Major's Hounds have put a lot of time and effort to it, and I appreciate that what he's done, and hope it works well for us.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, sir.
We're on now to county administration. That's our bills to be paid. Does anyone have a question on any of the bills here?
Judge, I'll make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, we have our contract agreements and resolutions. We have our agreement for the detention center housing contract for Trimble and Henry counties. Jeff Tyndall, is he here today? I don't see him. You have before you, I'll try to go through this. We have agreements that have been worked out and signed by Henry and Trimble County for the housing of their prisoners in the Oldham County Detention Center. Trimble generally has 8 to 10 people there. Henry County in the 35 person area. We've agreed with them from July of this year to next year for $34, 2019 to 20, 35, 20 to 21, 35, 35, and 21 to June of 22, 35, 70. Those are the per diems. Other expenses are picked up in regard to transportation for fees for officers and mileage if any of their people have to be taken anywhere. Does anybody have any questions on the contract? Magistrate Logson?
I have no problem with this, the way it is, but is there any reason why we went out to 2021 on the cost per diem? I mean, what if costs go up a whole lot more, till then? Is this something that the state is saying that you can only raise it so much per year? And you might not know this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot right now. I'm just wondering why we're taking it out to 2021.
Well, I think these other counties want to have some budgeting expectation. There is a 60-day termination clause in here. If we become unhappy with these rates because of some future development, we can give them 60 days notice that they have to renegotiate or vacate.
All right, thank you, sir.
If you want to pass that, Jeff Tyndall's on his way. If you have any more questions, maybe you can answer them.
Okay. Well, let's see, is anybody, okay, thank you, Matt. Anybody else, are there any questions on this? We've, dealt with these counties for a long time, so, it's not unusual. All right. Is there a motion to accept this?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think with the 60 days ability to void the contract, there's no reason why I shouldn't go forward with it.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. The next item here has to do with the QK4 agreement, and Belinda Demas would like to take the court through that.
This is an agreement with QK4 for Phase 2 engineering and geotechnical services for the Kentucky 329 bypass realignment project in the amount of $134,524, utilizing federal funds and requiring a local match. Fiscal Court approved the funding for this work in an agreement with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet in May of this year. The work to be done under the agreement with QK4 includes survey work, utility coordination, right-of-way plans, geotechnical works, final construction plans, and bid documents. And we are asking Fiscal Court to allow Judge Vogel to sign the agreement.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, I'd be allowed to sign this engineering and geotechnical services agreement with QK4. Are there any questions or discussion for Belinda? Magistrate Hounds?
I know it's probably in here, and I think I found it the other day, but I can't remember. What's the match? What's our,
We do, it's a 80% federal, 20% local.
Okay.
So it'll be 108,000 federal and 27,000 local.
okay, thank you.
We'd like to, if you think about this area, this is basically improving the area where old, 329 intersects with Veterans Memorial Parkway, is it?
Yes.
And there's on the northeast side, there's a big wall, big rock wall. That rock wall is going to get shaved back because of this, and which is going to improve the sight line tremendously, I hope. And also, we expect that there's a possibility we may have some traffic control in that area. Jim, do you know about that?
Sheila, would you put up the overhead, please? Good afternoon, Judge, Magistrates. Jim Urban, Director of Planning and Development Services. The area, first of all, the area that the judge is mentioning is if the interstate is in this direction, there's a rock wall that everybody understands that when you're pulling out of what will be the new bank or the Starbucks, it's hard to see up the hill. At various speed limits, that will be shaved back. My understanding is that the Transportation Cabinet has actually reduced the speed limit at the intersection of the old 329 and 329 bypass all the way up to the north side of the interstate to 45 miles an hour. At a 45 mile an hour speed limit, they did a site distance study, consulting engineers, and there is not an improvement that needs to be made in that rock wall. So if the speed remains at 55, then there is some shaving back of that wall. We had a meeting with the Transportation Cabinet last week about all of our road projects, and in fact, they've already said that they've approved a traffic signal when this intersection improvement is done. So if there's a traffic signal there, that changes everything. But should a traffic signal not go in, part of this project will take some of that wall out. It just depends on the speed limit.
Magistrate Dye.
What would be the location of the signal if you're going to put one in there, at the base of the ramps?
No, they're talking about at the intersection of Old 329 and the 329 bypass.
Now, what about the work we're going to do on that other side? Does that have something to do with it?
No, you mean the other side of the interstate?
You're talking about Old 329 about the parking tark, right?
By the, yes, by the existing parking
Or
target.
the moving that, we've talked about closing that off, and we've had three different plans to move that up the road.
Right, no, that alternative was not selected, although we had a lot of discussion about it when the transportation, you're talking about this
Yes.
kind of spur. The Transportation Cabinet, when we met in October of last year about it and had a lot of discussion about the alternatives, ultimately, this is a state road, both roads are state roads, and the cost to do the other alternatives was far greater than this one. So make the improvements in place was the alternative that was selected, and putting a signal there was part of that discussion.
Will stay in the same location it is now?
No, Park and Tark is moving, we're getting real close to letting that project, we hope. Belinda always rolls her eyes, because we've lied to you many times about when we're gonna start that, but it's getting a lot closer. We anticipate that by spring of next year, on the Apple Patch site, we'll be building 129 space, 114 space, we cut it down, Park and Tark. And this is a temporary Park and Tark that we have a contract with the landowner to use.
While you have that up there, Jim, that area there will probably give people a better sense of where the shaving on the wall is gonna be.
Well, you can see on here is listed this, let me do it with my finger. I thought maybe that would be less, I was looking for my pen, don't have one, believe it or not. You can see on here, and I'll zoom in, is, if it doesn't get pixelated, that's the site distance improvements. When we were looking at all three alternatives, that was the area that was being considered for removing some of that rock wall, so you could see the site distance, and all of that is within the existing road right-of-way.
What's not gonna go further down would be to your left.
There isn't a need to, because the geometry of the roadway. And again, if traffic signals go in, it changes everything completely.
And how much, I don't know, how much are they gonna shave off? Going backward,
They're not going to.
Well, it depends on the speed limit, so either, if it's reduced in that area to 45, it will be none. At 55, I don't have that exhibit with me.
At one time, they were talking 60 feet.
Yeah, there was, in the traffics, in the site distance study, I mean, it looks like it's 70 feet. But in the, if it stays the way it is, if nothing gets done, it's at 180 feet should be shaved off.
Okay,
Again,
thank
so
you.
it depends on what alternative, and I wish we could go out there and do it today, because by the time this road gets built, we could use that site distance, but ultimately, it isn't necessary with traffic signals.
Okay, thank you.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you. Jim, I'm a little confused. There was three options on the table.
Yes, sir.
I don't think a traffic signal was involved in any of those, was it?
Well, magic happens sometimes when it's a state project, and in discussions with them regarding speed limits and sight distance and turning movements and future traffic counts and the interstate ramps, they requested that a traffic signal be put in the proposed, I guess that was alternate one, which is the existing location of the intersection.
So
And there was strong public comment regarding that as well, right?
there's still going to be some more public comment, or?
No.
Okay, so they're talking about leaving it just like it is and putting in a traffic signal.
Not just like it is, no. It'll have turning movement improvements. If you look at this, and again, when I zoom in, it's going to get harder, in the reflection of the light.
They're not
but-
there yet, go ahead if you want to. but-
And this, again, is just a conceptual plan, but there'll be right turn movements as you're going from the interstate towards Crestwood. There'll be right turning in. There are, if you can see here, there is a right turn lane and then two left turn lanes and one inbound lane on the old 329 right there. Well, let's see if I can get in there even closer and still, can you see it all right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
good.
And there will be a light there.
That's what the proposal is at this point, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You know, we have quite a bit of concern over traffic in the area. They have reduced the speed limit from, I think, 55 to 45 there. I've been, I've had several business people in the area on both sides of the interstate express a lot of concern about people coming off the interstate, trying to turn left, trying to turn right, trucks going through the area, that we need the bridge widened out, so there's at least 3 lanes in the future going through that bridge. So I've been down there, out on the ground, so to speak, in the morning, and the traffic is, intense. I mean, there are people flying through there. So I'm not a huge proponent of stoplights everywhere, but we do need some things just to slow it down a little bit to keep things from someone getting hurt.
And that puts brakes in the traffic too, it helps to, when you slow them down and they have to get started again, so.
Right. In fact, I was just there last week, and somebody was turning into Starbucks, and I was going to take a right, and they were taking a left, and just as I approached them, 2 other cars got in an accident right in front of me. And so they were, somebody's turning into Starbucks, and somebody else was doing something else, and bang, there they were.
Chief Turner was involved in a wreck there, Judge.
Uh-huh.
Chief Turner was
Was he?
involved in a wreck there last week.
Oh, really?
And, did quite a bit of damage to his vehicle.
That way, it wasn't him, it was,
Yeah, there's been quite a few there. I mean, that's a
yeah,
more commonplace than it needs to be.
yeah.
When he comes and sees us next year, he won't have 900 runs, it'll be 850, maybe.
Yeah, right, a little bit. Okay, so, where are we? Did we take a vote on this yet? Nope. All right. Is there any more discussion on this, signing this agreement? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is, I believe, Becky Zockline is going to encourage us to send some money back to the state.
Correct. Thank you, Judge, and good afternoon, gentlemen, and Sheila. At the end, every year we receive a $4,000 grant for waste tire disposal, and we don't spend it all. This year we spent $2,022.50. We will be sending back $1,977.50. These are tires that are brought to the recycling center or that are picked up along the side of the road by our litter crews. And they're all taken and recycled by Mr. Roland Ashby of Tire Shredding and Recycling.
Okay,
So I'm asking the court for for your permission to have the judge sign this so that we can return this grant money to the state that was unused.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
Second.
do you know if, I guess we're going to return this one way or another, we owe it to them, but do you think they'll cut us down in the future because of not using the entire grant?
At this time, it would make sense to do that, but at this time, the waste tire grant is a flat amount. The same amount goes out to every single county.
Oh, okay. Well, we did get 705 tires, so it wasn't as though it was, a small number, but we could have taken twice that number.
Well, also this year, we had our waste tire event, the collection event, and that brought in almost 6,000 tires.
Oh.
So, but that's a state-sponsored event, doesn't come out of this money at all.
Okay, everybody in favor of me signing a check and sending back the money to the state, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item we have here is our Settlers Point Trail Project change order. Oops, if I jump ahead one, Jim Urban, LaGrange Parkway Maintenance, sorry.
Right. Good afternoon again. What we're asking is for fiscal court to allow the judge to sign a resolution accepting supplemental agreement number 2 on item number 5-8708, which is the state's number for what used to be called Ring Road, and now we're going to call it LaGrange Parkway. We already have an agreement with the state, and that agreement was to do all the engineering before we even started construction of LaGrange Parkway. So the simplest way to do this agreement is to just do a supplemental agreement to that original one. This agreement is for maintenance responsibilities, an agreement between Oldham County and the Transportation Cabinet that since this is a economic development project, when the road opens, as many of you know, if the state were to be doing the mowing along the LaGrange Parkway, they'd mow it 3 or 4 times a year. And that wouldn't show well when our development partners or anybody was looking at considering purchasing land out in the area. So we've agreed in principle to do the mowing and the snow plowing until such time as the state takes over the maintenance of that facility, which is when Allen Lane gets constructed underneath the underpass and connects to 146. So that then would be a state route that goes from 146 across Commerce Parkway, over I-71, and through Oldham Reserve all the way to Kentucky 53 at Blakemore Lane. We are going to do the mowing in perpetuity, and the development partners have agreed that as they get tenants, they'll have a tenants association pay into it and they'll take over it. But in the meantime, this agreement basically says that we're going to mow the sides of the property. And then also, if you look on page 2 of the attachment, is a list of what we will agree to. We're going to do litter removal, any landscape elements that are either placed in there or are there currently, and there really aren't any landscape elements there today. And then the future multi-use path. Well, the multi-use path is being installed on one side of the roadway. The road is designed to have it on both sides, and we would also be responsible for upkeep of that multi-use path. So we've had many, many discussions between Oldham County Fiscal Court, actually Judge Vogel and Kevin Nuss, Deputy Judge, City of LaGrange Mayor, OLDA. We've interviewed a person that give us at least an estimate of what it would cost to mow it if we had a mowing company mow it, whether our own forces will do it or the city's forces will do it. The bottom line is that the road is about to open and the state wants us to have this agreement in place before the road opens. So we all can agree that we're going to do these basic elements. So the details of how we do it are yet to be worked out, but we'll take the responsibility for it.
All right, is there a motion to accept this agreement?
So moved.
All right, discussion? Mr. Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. I'm a little reluctant to enter into an agreement where we don't have all the details worked out as to who's going to pay for what and reimbursement and all that. The state's coming out of this smelling like a rose, but it's our development, so I can understand the interplay there. Mm-hmm. But has Oldham been approached about being the sole contractor for taking care of this, and then the City of LaGrange and the County of Oldham writing a check for 50% each to the Development Authority? Personally, I think they're the ones that should be in charge of this and let them worry about hiring the people and doing the manpower and all that. So I see you all up here like a soccer game saying who wants to make this goal.
Well, we've had a lot of discussions about it. I've been at several of the Oldham meetings and presented this. This has been on the table for about 3 months. And we've been trying to work out those details. And we all agree that we're going to participate in it. OLDA, the City of LaGrange, and Oldham County. But the mechanism for doing that is a separate agreement. Again, I don't want to say that the cabinet doesn't care, but their agreement is with the county. How the county does it is up to us. So we haven't finalized that yet.
So the county could still enter into an agreement with OLDA.
Yes.
And let them handle this and then write them a check for their services.
We could.
But Magistrate Dye?
Yeah, I'm on the older board. We have talked about this, and I see the thought process of why we're here today with this agreement. But I do think that we need, now that the road's opening up, I think that the board's position would be, we're held, the board is as the owner of basically the property, I guess, or the oversees the property. Some things it seems like, we're held to task, like stormwater management and, mitigation of the pond and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. I think that what Manager Greenwell said, I think that the city and the county need to come to Oldham, because sometimes we get into this thing, and Judge, you sat there and you've seen it in the meeting where, well, some of it's in the city and some's in the county, and we get to this kind of infighting thing going on, and so I think there ought to be one group, and I think Oldham should be the group that oversees it. But I think that's another subject for another day. The state just wants to get it off their plate, and that pretty much what I'm hearing today.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's what we need to do.
Right. Right now, as it is, stands currently, the city of LaGrange has been mowing Eden Parkway. Under what we had discussed to this point was that if we're going to, if this is a city-county project, we would take and split it down the middle, and they feel that we have not carried our part of the Eden Parkway. Conversely, their property tax out there is double ours, so they are collecting more money in Oldham Reserve from the Rawlings Company than we are, property tax-wise. They did want it to be a city street, too, when it all began. But I can understand, we're partners are partners, and it doesn't always work out day to day evenly, but over a period of time, both partners in anything have to be reasonably happy to maintain the partnership. I'm not opposed to Oldham taking this, although that essentially boils down to David Bazanis getting it done. And I don't think Oldham owns any equipment. I don't think they're in a position to store, maintain any equipment. So it'll boil down to them hiring somebody to do it. We've had one contractor out there, and I believe, if I recall right, the quote was like essentially $3,000 a mow. So how often is this going to do? I mean, if we maintain it, I think we have to get the mechanical ability to maintain it with a minimum number of people, maybe some inmates or whatever. Just this last week, I was looking into an option that had to do with, believe it or not, planting flowers out there. You can actually plant a spread of flowers to take up a bunch of stuff that you might not have to mow because there are flowers involved there. So we haven't worked it out. This is just to get it off the state's plate. We do have to work it out, I agree, but I think if Oldham takes it, we'll be down to just basically have, paying half the bill, whatever it is for them to hire somebody.
While 3,000 is a huge figure in most everybody's mind, I would think, by the time you figure payroll and insurance and retirement, they might not be such a bad deal after all. But it just needs to be put down on paper.
Yes.
And, look at the plus and minuses of it all. So.
Well, the individual that came and talked to us, I believe, his base figure was based on about $60 an hour per employee, wasn't it?
Judge, I can't remember that, but he did have, his crews were going to go one on each side of the roadway and one down the middle and get it all, done in one push, and he had the equipment already, too. So I think it was 60, including the equipment, not just for the personnel.
Right, well.
And
It's a headache out there, there's no doubt about it, and no one really is enthused about having to take hold of it, but we do have to get it done, and we do need it looking right, and we did come out with a $16 million road we wanted through our office park, so this is the residual requirement at this point.
The idea of
I think Magistrate Eldridge was next. Did you have one, or did?
Judge, you're right. Those are called aviator habitats. Those flowers, what you're talking about, they do some of that in Metro Louisville. I actually read in the magazine where in some areas that people actually contract with local governmental units, and they rent a herd of goats.
Oh, heard.
And the goats don't eat it all the way down to the dirt. And it's one, I think it's up north, where you're from, Wisconsin or Minnesota, somewhere up there. It's very big up there, So I think there's a lot of ways we can do this, but I think at this point we need to look at what we've got out there. And $3,000 a cut, that's really not a lot. I'm a little familiar with that through HOA. What we pay to cut art, we got a lot of common ground, and it's very expensive. It's $1,800 a cut. So. I mean, it's 3,000, not that bad. I've been on the road. But I think the point today is we need to get this approved, and then let's all sit down and figure out and
who's gonna run it. And as far as David Bazanis, so he works for the Oldham board, and that would be part of his duties, you know.
Right, well, okay, that's, I just want to clarify one thing, that the 3,000, that number will stick in your head now, and it shouldn't, because that did not include Eden Parkway either. That just included, that was LaGrange Parkway, not Eden Parkway.
And Judge, I think you actually might have rounded down to the 3,000. You know, it was above 3, and it depends on whether they have to blow the grass off the roadway or not. That would be another cost, you know, once they get mowing, so.
Okay.
But
Well,
it's-
there's no, we could certainly wade into it. And it's something you do one year, you don't have to continue doing the next. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
we
right.
should, you know, we all try to refine our systems as we learn more and more about something, we get sharper and sharper.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, probably the best way is just getting it done to begin with by
Well,
someone, and then,
Well, it's the middle of July, and if it doesn't rain a little bit more, you won't do much cutting out there
all
anyway.
right.
And Judge, to your point about we have to get it done and everything, it may be best to pay $3,000 a year, see how they do it, then see if we can do it cheaper. And before we invest,
3,000 a cut.
3,000 a cut, I'm sorry, 3,000 a cut.
Yeah,
And-
don't hang on to that. Jim says I'm low.
Well,
right, yeah.
whatever the amount is, before we invest in a lot of equipment and manpower, it might be best to let them do it for a year to see what they do and then see if we can replicate it cheaper.
Yeah, because professionals they know shortcuts that we haven't even thought of yet. So,
Right.
I mean, we're not hung into this forever.
Patrick Hounds.
I would think that maybe I know we've got some talent in the county with landscapers and that, and there, if you drive down 65, I believe, when I was coming back, it's 75, there's areas there where they have the wildflower gardens and that in. You know, maybe we could investigate that, because that might be a nicer landscape even than grass growing. But I don't know, it seems to me that I remember that you had to put sprinklers in or something to keep the flowers.
Well, there's, all these ideas are okay. They planted sod, and so all the flat surfaces right now are sod. So as long as we have good grass planted, we might want to, there are banks that will not get mown all the time, and that might be a good place to do some of these alternatives. I think the judge was talking about in the medians probably, right? That
Pardon?
it's difficult to mow in the median, and
Yeah, the
maybe that would be-
median is what bothers me more than anything,
Yeah.
because it tapers down to these turning lanes, and it just seems like you need to go down one side of the street with something with an arm off it that
Right.
cuts the entire median at once.
Jim, let me get this straight. So when we signed the initial agreement with the state, we agreed to take over the maintenance of everything on the road.
No, this is the agreement to do that.
So when we agreed to enter the agreement to build the road, we did not say we were going to do this.
We had discussions from the very beginning, and the reason that we wanted to mow and do the snow plowing initially was because if the state was gonna come on their schedule to do the mowing, it would grow up this tall before they mowed it, and then we'd get bush hogged, and it wouldn't look like the Class A business park that we have. So in order to keep it looking good and fresh, so that people coming through, whoever brings them here or on their own, might view the business park as a better place to do business if we keep it mown fresh.
And to that point, Magistrate, in the meeting, we've talked about that. I believe you were there for some of them, and the judge, I know you were there for some of them. You know, if you don't take care of the fescue sod, I don't know what it's gonna turn into eventually, but if you don't cut it a certain way now, I don't think they sell Johnson grass fescue, do they, Magistrate Greenwell?
They don't what?
They don't sell Johnson grass fescue, do they?
Don't believe
I mean,
so.
sod? Yeah.
No.
So that's what it ended up being. So we want to keep it looking nice, and it comes at a price.
All right, anyone else? Magistrate Tice?
I'd like to see us go on and vote on this, but I wanted to ask one question. How soon do you think it'd be before the road's open?
Well, the last number we heard was the 19th, and that's here.
This month?
Yeah.
Okay.
that's
And what are
here, but,
your real thoughts?
Well,
probably-
that's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah,
1st of August maybe, or later?
yes.
Okay.
The 1st of August.
All right. And is there anything particular they're waiting on, or have they got all the asphalt down and just ready to go?
They're working out there. I haven't been out there in the past few days or since mid last week, but they were putting in all of the shared use path, all the sod had been put down, or most of it, and they were paving. But it depends on the weather. If it rains, then they don't pave.
Paving's gonna finish up about how soon?
Again, right before they open it up.
Thanks.
I wish I
Thanks for
had a
nothing.
better
It's not
answer.
good.
Tell you when the date is.
Well, I've been doing this long enough to know that they didn't say, tell everybody it's tomorrow. So, again, a couple weeks ago, they said the 19th, and now they're saying, well, it's not quite ready.
All right,
Magistrate, it's kind of like the DQ thing. Took forever.
moved and seconded that I sign this Parkway agreement with state. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
No. That's a, you voted no? All right. Motion carries 8-1. Next item has to do with Settlers Point. Scott Harris, change order here.
Good afternoon, Court and Judge. You should have in your packet a change order for the Settlers Point Trail culvert replacement project. This specific change order is to add the relocation of a 12-inch force main that belongs to OSEA that currently runs through or directly over the two 36-inch culverts.
Okay? No. I was going to ask, no, Willie, okay. I was really trying to make, you can come ahead if you want to. All right, is there a motion to accept this? First of all, let's get it on the table here.
I'll make that motion, Judge. Second.
All right. All right, change order for $84,000, and this is a Settlers Point Trail project that when they got into it, they found out that there was sewer issues going through the bridge that had to be changed in order to accommodate the new design. It pushed the price up by almost $85,000 here. We took it to the Stormwater Board. This is a stormwater project. Asked for the Stormwater Board to approve, money from reserves to meet this unexpected cost. Board voted to do that. Okay. So I took all the wind out of your sails there.
You
but,
did. Will Douglas, Chairman of the Stormwater Board. I'm just not sure on the amount that was quoted because the board approved up to a certain dollar amount. So
Because of this last-minute change, this project was awarded in February, and we made him wait until school ended. Well, half the summer's over, and we actually started the project today by capping an LGE gas line. In order to finish before school, our road department, who is furnishing the 20% match, because the original funds for this job were 80/20 bridge funds through KYTC, will now have to work overtime, which isn't in the budget.
Right.
So the number that you are agreed to pay up to
is in kind.
includes the possible overtime that may be needed. It's about $10,000 more than
Correct.
the actual change order.
Correct.
So I was trying to cover all the bases when we asked for it. That's why we asked for an up to number,
Right.
not a solid number.
Right. And we're trying to get this project off. So, I mean, it's unforeseeable that this force main is there, but we got to move it and make it happen.
All right. Are there any questions on this, Mr. Towns?
These two trucks, the road department's furnishing is in addition to what was originally agreed to, or is this?
They're same two trucks, longer period.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I thought one time we were
When you do an
talking four
80/20
trucks.
bridge, any 80/20 fund match, and you increase the project, you try to stay in that 80/20 fund match, and that's what we're trying to do by breaking it up into pieces. So tomorrow, like I just said, we capped the LGE gas line today. That was step one. Tomorrow, we start moving this sanitary sewer line. So I'll have two trucks down there and two drivers to haul the muck out that this subcontractor to Hornback Construction, who got the original project, will use to haul away the material.
Judge, I'd like to ask him what the completion date is now estimated.
This is all weather dependent, of course. We get a 3-inch rain, all bets are off. Like I said, we capped the sewer line today. Tomorrow we start the moving of the sewer. It should be completed by Friday the 27th. That's roughly not quite 2 weeks, a day short of 2 weeks, at which the following Monday, if not Saturday, which is why we would need overtime, we'll start the actual bridge replacement. We think Friday, August 10th, which beats school start by 5 days.
Getting close.
Yeah, it's close. Closer than I wanted it.
I'll ask this to Magistrate Greenwell. Should they notify the school board that the road might not be open?
You're asking a lowly bus driver?
You know a lot more than I do.
I thought that was the case. We just let you tell them, Steve.
Thanks a lot. To my knowledge, they've not been informed, but I would like to think they have been by somebody.
They were informed when it first started, and it was their request
Okay.
that we not start it right after spring.
Because I
runs
had
ended.
heard of a date of 2 days before schools when they were going to start, and then something happened, and I'm glad it happened in this direction
We
because,
went about 9 different directions in 3 days.
okay,
That was one of them. Yes.
glad to hear.
Question.
All right.
On this box culvert, did they not know that the sewer main was there when they first started on this, or?
It was originally designed to run over the top of the box culvert. We were told that they didn't want that, so it's going under the box culvert now.
Well, it can't go over the box culvert without raising the road, and if you raise the road, it's going to put flooding back into one of the homeowners there, that the whole project was designed to stop flooding his house to begin with. So it needs to go underneath the culvert. That's what the sewer engineering people believe, based on this bridge is in a dip. If you raise the dip up, water's going to run back over in this individual's yard.
Is it because the age and but I mean, I would think with the technology and everything we had, we would have figured this out before today. I mean, I'm a little, I'm really struggling with this because I don't understand why we've got this in front of us.
We did figure this out before today. The original contract was signed almost 2 weeks ago by the contractor, and the original design was agreed to over a month ago. We've been waiting for approval through OSEA and all the committees and the boards. This isn't something that I came up with last night. This has been going through everything.
Know what I'm
This
saying?
takes time.
Why didn't we know that the force main was where it was and that we had to make the change before today?
You'd have to ask somebody that was here in 2015 when it was installed. It was not on the plans that I inherited from the utility locate.
Is the force main right in the center of
I
the
started in
bridge?
2017.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but with the technology that we have, I mean, I
Which
can't do anything.
technology?
Any tech, if I want to dig in my yard, I call Bud Before You Dig, and they come and tell me everything. Lo and behold, I've got something that runs through my yard that I didn't even know I had.
Okay.
And I know, because I've had to do it, I've had to put dye and figure out where lines are and cameras and everything else. And I just don't understand why we
This
didn't
is
know.
a
all
force
this.
main. You can't dye this. This
using
drains
it
a
as an
lift
example.
station.
Okay.
This is a force main. It means that it pumps
understand what a
everything.
force main is.
Well, there's nothing to dye.
That's not what he was getting at.
This is not something you could dye test.
Okay. I'm still struggling with the,
Well, I think we need to, we need to ask OSEA that. This is their project. To begin with, the force main didn't go exactly where some of the
Understand.
maps said it went.
I understand. But I mean, anytime you have to do something like this, I'm sure that the contractor is giving us one heck of a deal. And I'm being facetious in the fact that they're probably having to get this job done.
This is almost half of the original design that OSEA said we were going to cost them. I got this contractor down almost 50%.
Well, that would have been good information to have too.
Well,
Because I mean, I'm looking at $83,000 or $85,000 and, we're talking $3,000 earlier. That's a big number. $85,000 is a lot bigger number.
It is.
And when we've got other projects that I know of, stormwater projects that need to be taken care of, and now we just took an $85,000 hit.
There's three alternatives here.
Yeah.
Fiscal court pay it, OSEA pay it, or the stormwater reserve fund pay it.
I like the
I think the
third
third
better.
alternative is.
That's
is
how
the
it's
one-
being paid.
That's the one we've chosen.
I understand. I still don't have to be happy about spending $85,000.
Well, but you know, this is what happens. It's,
Did this go through any committee or anything?
you know, no offense to anyone, I don't think we really need to sit down and debate the engineering of this at this point. This project is underway, it's funded, you know, I'm not gonna put the blame on our engineering department. I think there's a coordination with OSEA that could have happened, but, you know, for us to sit down, try to, determine who didn't understand something at what point is, you know, we're just past that point. Mr. Greenwell.
Just one last thing, Judge. I'm ready to vote, but I'd like to thank OSEA for their cooperation with this matter.
I wouldn't think OSEA, I don't know what OSEA, you're talking about stormwater?
Stormwater, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not the same as OSEA.
I don't think we got anything out of OSEA, so
Thank
Appreciate
you
Mr.
anyway.
Douglas and his committee.
appreciate it.
Well, it's, all right. Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Okay. All right, I'm going to take the next one here. This came in a few days ago. The Administrative Office of the Coach is asking us to sign a memorandum of understanding here. This memorandum between the Administrative Office of the Courts and Oldham County is for the capital construction project to renovate and construct in addition to the Oldham County Courthouse. As I believe all magistrates are aware, in the last session of the legislature, $22,800,000 was allocated to replace the jail building that we have in downtown LaGrange with a new addition to the Oldham County Courthouse, as well as remodel the courthouse. This administrative agreement here is the first step in the process. It basically says, yes, we agree to go forward. We agree to follow all of the legislative strictures in the statutes and rules that are made by the Administrative Office of the Courts. The Administrative Office of Courts is willing to pay for the construction of this project for all space to be used by AOC facilities. Any additional space that we want strictly for Oldham County in the revamped courthouse building or addition to the courthouse building would be something that we would have to take care of as a county on our own. But I'm going to ask that you know, we go ahead and sign this. It is, I believe, what might be referred to as an aleatory contract, and that is, there isn't any negotiations here. If you want the 22.8, agree to our game plan, and we'll go forward.
So moved, Judge.
Is there a second? Okay. Discussion, Magistrate Eldridge.
Judge, the only question I had, and I don't know if this would be for Mr. Carter, number 8. Says the county understands and agrees that if a new freestanding building is to be constructed, the selection of a site for construction must proceed in accordance with AP Part X, Section 1, Chapter 10. In other words, everything I'd read, I was understanding from the contract that this was to do with the building across the street, but when you look at number 8, I'm not sure what that means.
You ask him, but I'll offer this
Okay.
response. I believe this is a boilerplate contract that just, and other counties, there have been freestanding buildings built. We approached the state asking for a remodel in addition to our existing building. that, we're not gonna go out and buy a piece of property or move it, so I don't think that fits, but I don't think they just left it in the contract.
All right, thank you. You okay with that, Mr. Carter?
It's one of those things, they're gonna build a new courthouse for $22 million, and we either agree to the contract or we don't get it.
It's not a new courthouse. It's an addition to the courthouse and remodeling of our existing one.
Right.
And,
So they can't remodel the existing courthouse. I guess they could, well, they couldn't move it and remodel the existing courthouse, so it's gonna be on the same place that it is now. That would be my interpretation. I don't know how you could possibly do that.
Ashley Greenwell.
Judge, at one time, there was talk about tearing down the old jail and then adding on, but are they gonna use the new jail, the old jail as part of the construction plan?
No, that would have to be leveled.
Okay.
I believe there's a construction committee, for lack of a better term, will be put together. It's laid out by statute. I'm on it. The circuit judge is on it. The clerk of court is on it. A couple of appointees by the AOC are on it. Informal conversations with our judges across the street. I believe that they are looking for a new entrance to be on Second Street, or would prefer it if it can be done, with metal detection equipment for all persons passing in and out of the courthouse. So the old jail's full of rebar. It just wasn't built to be remodeled. Who takes it down for what price is going to be interesting. I don't know if we can get it down and save some money or make our money go further. It'd be great. If not, we'll have to hire someone else to take it down. So, yes, sir.
George, you made a comment about if the county wants some space, how does that happen again?
All of the money that is spent of the 22 million from the state, the space created or remodeled with that space has to be used for state functions.
Yeah.
If the county wants any specific function in the office that's not a state function or in the structure, then we would have to provide our own financing for that part of it. So
you're
if we were to move an office over there for some reason, or create something where, I don't know, something else would be in there that we normally, I'll just take a guess and say a PVA. Okay, right now, we provide a PVA location.
Right.
If it became part of the jail, or a new courthouse structure, we would have to pay to create that part of the building.
When that's the part to throw, when you say create, are you talking about enlarging the footprint or using some space, in other words, take some AOC space that maybe they will hold it in reserve for something, and we just took that space over? We'd become a tenant in their building.
I can't answer that, with any tremendous assurance. I would just say I was thinking from the term of creating, that we think it would probably be around the same footprint that is there now, although it may expand some.
Yeah.
Expand into the courthouse yard some. I don't know.
Okay, well, that was my concern.
Of course, we got upward expansion
Yeah.
as far as we can take it.
Well, that would make more sense, it's cheaper, but that's what I thought. Were you saying that the footprint was this big, and any additional space we'd have to come up with? Are we taking their space as a tenant?
No,
or-
I think they have created, this allocation is based on the amount of space that the state thinks it needs for its functions.
Okay.
Anything
right.
beyond that, whether or not I doubt any pad has been built into this for them, I think.
No, I'm sure.
They have a specific, it's all been laid out. There's a certain formula they have for the size of your county, the population, how many judges are in the building, how many need this space, where the juries meet. It's all laid out. The exterior skin of the building, how it will look, and how these rooms come together, I think is something to be determined through the design process. But the actual amount of space, their allocation is based on a set number of square feet that they expect to provide and/or remodel.
Yeah, it's like a boilerplate calculation.
Yeah,
We'd
but
have
it's
to
not a
Thank you.
boilerplate design. You go around the state, everybody's courthouse looks a little different.
We'd have to add our own floor essentially.
Right, essentially, you want your own floor, you gotta pay for
You
it.
gotta pay for your own floor.
Anyone else? All right, hearing none, all in favor of allowing me to sign this, please say aye. Opposed? So moved, thank you. Next item on our agenda here is Road Committee, Magistrate Hounds.
Judge, I was approached by some residents in the Lake Point subdivision about a failing guardrail, and they brought a proposal to us. We took it to the road committee a couple months ago to replace the guardrail system. It's not a true guardrail system, more like a deterrent, but they went out and got some pricing, and they've agreed if the county will do a 50-50 match, we will put in a 6x6 steel, 6x6 post with steel cable, 5/8 steel cable for $7,062, and the county would be responsible for half, and the homeowner association would be for the other half. It is a county road that goes into the neighborhood, but I think in trying to be good neighbors or good citizens, they're willing to pay for half, and for that, I think we should go ahead and do that.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded that we share 50/50 the cost for the replacement of a guardrail on Willow Bend Drive. That's what's the HOA there. Okay, correct? Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Oops, sorry.
On the engineering side of this, if something happens to that dam and they puncture a hole by driving these iron pillars through there, who will be responsible for that?
Wood pillars.
Okay, wood pillars.
They're only going down 5 feet. I mean, that, they're only 5-foot posts. I think they're only going down 5 feet. You're right. They're 5-foot posts.
I'm just always worried about that road. I've always worried.
It'd be the contractor's liability insurance.
I've always worried about that road, because if that dam ever goes, then those people have no way to get back there. So I'm just really concerned about this dam. So it was just a question, so.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Time now for our second public comment. Is there anybody that has come in since our meeting began?
Election, sir.
Personnel
Did we have a personnel action?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Tina's here.
Tina? Go ahead, sorry.
Good afternoon. Before the court today is a new hire at the road department. We have Aaron Moore as equipment operator 1 for $13.50 an hour effective tomorrow. 18th.
Make that motion, Judge.
Moved and seconded, we hire Aaron Moore as equipment operator effective tomorrow. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Now we have our public comment, if there's anybody. Seeing no one, I'll close public comment and go on to ask for a motion to adjourn temporarily for our executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810F. This is for a discussion of personnel items which may lead to the employment of one or more individuals. In this executive session, I would like the magistrates, Superintendent Schultz, have Deputy Nuss, our treasurer Melissa Horn, Stan Clark, CFO, and Tina Schaaf. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Did you get a second? I'll second it.
Didn't get a second? What? I was the first.
I'll make the second.
He's the second. All in favor, say aye. Again? Aye. Okay, everybody's.